podcast. Check it out. Subscribe to the YouTube show as well. We post to YouTube most afternoons. That's the Jeff Ward Show on YouTube. One thing that happens on Fridays on this show, just luck, to be honest with you. Had no real reason why I had access to all this information. It is 63 pages of they were focus group studies. I almost said FaceTime, but that can't happen. Focus group studies, 63 pages over the past 32 years, where record executives had been studying popular songs, but the focus groups said, we hate them, we don't like them, don't ever play them again. I got access to it. I send the entire file to Brandon. We call it Songs That Suck. We turn it into a drinking game. That means you guess the artist, the year the song was released, and the song name.
Rain on the roof of this empty house, that don't bother me. I can take a few tears now and then and just let them out. I'm not afraid to cry every once in a while, even though going on with you gone still upsets me. There are days every now and again I'm okay.
That is a chubby boy band. For whatever reason, also chose to wear tight leather pants pretty often. Never figured that one out.
Country cool.
Chubby. When you're chubby, you probably should not wear leather pants. But arguably the worst group ever put together. I said arguably. I don't know how many. It's a short list. Let me tell you that. They're on a short list. They are heinous. That's the word I like to use. All right, here we go. That would be the great Rascal Flatts, a metal band out of I don't know where and don't care. Oh, gosh. Feels 90s when all country sucked. I'm going to say 1999, Rascal Flatts. Title should be coming up in just a second.
Yep.
I'll kill some time and act like I'm studying this.
Nailed it. Right on post.
Yep. Is it what hurts the most, or is it watching you walk away?
Yes.
Thanks for
It's
that.
what hurts the most.
Okay.
And
all right,
unfortunately,
I'm going to say 99.
You're a little off. That would be 2006 when this came out.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It feels 90s.
It does.
It does feel.
Yeah.
It feels like every other bad song in the 90s.
It was probably written back then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope they're no longer around. I hope that terrible things are happening to them, and they hate each other and lost all their money and fight and try to stab each other. I just want. I'm sorry. I want terrible things for Rascal Flatts. No one in their right mind could like that. No one in their right mind could like that music. Well, could the Cowboys' succession plan already be in place? That's not an outrageous thing to say. I've been building up to this for a while. You're getting to a pretty critical juncture. Is that Dak Prescott's replacement now hiding in plain sight? Now, let me say this. This makes some sense. You got to have a plan. You do, because I've been saying for a while that I'm not quite positive this thing. There's a window. I'll get to that in just a second. I'm not certain he's your quarterback in Dallas after this coming season. I've played out the plan. I've argued it. I'm happy to argue it again. I think it's a fairly good idea. It's not comfortable. Doesn't feel good, but it's good for the business and the brand. I think it's good for long term. I've come up with a way to trade him. Something's up. This makes some sense. It's a buzzkill, but I do think this makes some sense. If and when Dak Prescott leaves Dallas, okay, either he doesn't, for the reasons, he doesn't take the offer, which nobody ever seems to talk about. I don't know why I'm the only one that keeps saying, are you sure you sure Jerry Jones is the one screwing this up, that he doesn't understand it? I'm not quite convinced of that. Either he doesn't take their offer, or he isn't offered. Jones has just said, I can't afford him. And I think that's a possibility too. he isn't given an offer, or he makes it clear that he's leaving. He's been around long enough. They've been together long enough. I do think they've got to be clear with each other. They've got to be. It's only fair to both sides that you be pretty clear what the intentions are. If the intention has been, I'm going to offer you. We're coming with an offer if they haven't done this already. You have to do that if you're the old man. And it should have been done already, and you got a short window to make it happen if, in fact, you're going to get the guy to sign a deal. On the Prescott side, if you're really not even going to listen for another 6 or 8 months, you need to be clear about that. That's the fair thing to do as well. And that is, oh, man, don't even show me the piece of paper. I'm not doing it right now. I'm gonna bet on myself, and let's just go play and have the best season we can together. That's the way it's going to be. The Prescott side has to be very clear about that, too. That's the right thing to do. They owe each other this honest communication. If they haven't had that, then they're walking themselves into a real dumpster fire. So what's the immediate plan? I still think he signs. I think it's entirely possible. Dak Prescott is a $60 million a year quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think that's the smartest thing for both sides, but it's the common path. It's the trend. It's what most fans want. I think it's a bad idea for both sides. But you have to have a replacement. Whatever is going on, and I think there's something up, Dallas has to be prepared for him not being there. He has to get ready to have a really good year to drive up his value, and that's all he can care about. And Dallas has to be ready in case he doesn't come back. And they might be. They might be prepping themselves for that. Could that replacement be a flameout as a former number 1 pick, first-round pick? I think, what was he, 3, 4, 6 or something like that? He was a top 10 pick. Absolute flameout. Is that former first-rounder, is that what Dallas is going to do? They got him for a 6-pack of beer. Was there a plan all along? I remember saying at the time, this is a weird move. Maybe it wasn't such a weird move. Maybe the move was made to say, I don't know if we, 1, can keep Dak Prescott. 2, I don't know that we want to. And 3, I don't know that he wants to stay. So we better have a plan. It's entirely possible, as much of a buzzkill as it is going to be, and they are going to get blown up in social media and in the talk space. But it makes some sense. It's not a winning plan, but it's a plan. And you need to have a plan. You got to have something ready to go for the next couple of years. So it might be this. The chatter, I think, means something. The noise, the sort of vibrations coming out, there's just something up. Stuff doesn't happen quietly ever. Nothing happens quietly in the world of Jerry Jones, and noise is starting to pick up. You can say, oh, it's just talk show hosts kicking around ideas. Yeah, but one of the reasons why talk show hosts and analysts are kicking around ideas is because that window, okay, you don't negotiate with your starting quarterback once the season starts. It's not a very good move. It's not a very good idea. You guys have had plenty of time to figure out what you're going to do or not going to do. So they've got a few weeks. But I think the chatter means something. First up, this is a guy named Bucky Brooks, who's an analyst for the NFL Network. He's good. He's not clueless. He's not a fool. I've told you the Dallas window for figuring out life with Dak Prescott or without Dak Prescott is closing. You either decide that between now and I suspect probably before August 1st, or whenever they get knocked out of the playoffs next year, you got a small window there to make a deal. I don't think it's smart. I don't think it's good business. I don't think it's good football if you're negotiating back and forth during the season. So Brooks offered up this idea. Laugh it off if you want, but I got to say, I don't think it's coming from a completely clueless place. They went out and got Trey Lance for a 6-pack of beer for a reason.
All right, I want to go ahead and put a massive disclaimer on this because I'm putting on my analyst role, my percolating in my head role. This is not anything that I'm hearing inside the building. So I'm talking directly to you aggregators and you bloggers. You know who you are when it's a slow off season. What's been going on in my head?
You're not going to stop them, Jade. You can't stop them. You can only hope to contain them.
But what I will say is, I've been thinking a little bit about this Dak Prescott, Dallas Cowboys thing. As we continue moving towards this thing, there's a part of me that thinks this thing's going to get done closer to camp, as they always do. We always see this gamesmanship, like Ezekiel Elliott a couple years ago. We're not paying him Todd Gurley money, and then they sure as heck did it. But I'm wondering if the X factor here is Dak. In other words, Dak's like, I'm going to sit here, see how I play, and see what the market bears a la Kirk Cousins. I mean, it's worked out for Kirk Cousins. Then I start hearing this Trey Lance is becoming a master of the playbook. So this idea that I had in my head, because you can only play quarterbacks so long at the $60 million a year APY in order to have a really good team around them. And keep in mind, we still got to pay CeeDee Lamb here in Dallas. You got to play Micah Parsons. Then you've got guys behind him coming up. Is there a way that the Cowboys could slow play this Trey Lance thing? In other words, roll him out in the preseason. Don't show him the rest of the year. This is, again, if Dak decides that he's going to play this thing out. Then you get to the end of the season. Do the Cowboys convince themselves, we're going to roll out Trey Lance because Dak Prescott was a fourth-round guy that we picked. He was fourth on the depth chart. And we just got to put pieces around him. And then they go to Trey Lance because they haven't shown a lot of him. And they say, well, it's hard to decide what your market value is. And I think a lot of teams would struggle with what is Trey Lance's market value. And then they could give him a Baker Mayfield type of deal. Now, again, I don't know if any of this is going to happen. I sort of kicked this around with some of the guys that cover the beat. But I think this is going to be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. I mean, Trey Lance has looked, I think, pretty sharp in the offseason. He's got Patrick Mahomes, quarterbacks coach. But there's just a big question mark on Trey Lance because we just haven't seen anything of him. Now, again, this is all a big if. I'm not hearing this in the building. I just wonder if the Cowboys might find ways to convince themselves to do something like that. So it's percolating in my head.
Look, Jane, I like the percolator, and what I would say is both things could be true at the same time. Dak Prescott certainly could be playing this out to kind of chase a bag like Kirk Cousins because he knows the value of the market is never going to go down. It's only going to go up. No matter how he plays this year, he is going to get paid in a major way. But for the Cowboys and Trey Lance, look, it may be a smart observation. Remember this, there are a lot of questions about Jordan Love, and I'm not saying that Trey Lance is going to be the next Jordan Love. But remember the conversation about Jordan Love when Jordan Love played. There were a lot of people, naysayers, that didn't think that Jordan Love would be a really, really good player after he played a start or two for the Green Bay Packers. In Trey Lance, what you have is a former first-round pick that has been reared up under Mike McCarthy for the last going on a year and a half. This gives Mike McCarthy an opportunity to really see what he is, see what his potential could be, and I'm sure they've had some conversations about what do you think the end game is for Trey Lance. So if Trey Lance has an opportunity to play, maybe Dak Prescott has a sprained ankle, gives Trey Lance an opportunity to have a start or two, I think you could make a case that maybe we move forward with the young guy, continue to build a team around him, and give Trey Lance the opportunity to take the baton from Dak Prescott. So yes, I do believe that conversation.
Yeah, that's now I know it's extra nerdy. I know it is, but it's not. I don't think it's crazy talk. Now, I'm not saying anyone knows that Trey Lance is any good. In fact, his last employer thought that he was awful and got rid of him for a six-pack of beer. Here's what you have to think about. And I don't know that Dallas does this because it's hard to get in the head of Jerry Jones. But I know fans are going to hate this stuff. But let me make a basic sort of overriding argument for you, no matter who the player is. What if you have a pretty good quarterback and you load up everywhere else? Would you do that? Now, most fans would say, hell no. No. Life is a great quarterback. Life is expensive quarterback. Jerry Jones would believe life is a great quarterback. Life is an expensive quarterback. Most owners believe they've got to be great and they've got to be expensive. I'm going to sit here and say, what if you're able to buy more players and spend more money and accept the fact that your quarterback might just be pretty good? Is that a new way of doing business? I don't know that Jerry Jones starts that way. Someone is. Someone's going to say, you know what? I'm not paying $60 million for a quarterback who's really good. If his name's not Mahomes, I'm not going there. So I'm going to have a pretty good one. And we're going to do the best we can with a bunch of other players. Because if I have a great one, if I think I have a great one, and I pay him like he's a great one, I can't have anybody else on my team. I run out of money. I don't think it's crazy. I like the conversation. And if Dallas, remember, Dallas said all along, we really liked Trey Lance. I don't know anything about the guy. San Francisco thought enough of him to make him a top 6 pick. And then said, screw this. We don't want to pay for him. And Dallas, I'm not going to give them enough credit to say, what if they found something here? What if they found their way out? What if they found a good quarterback and they didn't have to pay him like they would Dak Prescott? That wouldn't be a terrible thing. That would be your best option. I know it's crazy, and I know fans don't think that way. But I think everyone in this round table, I don't think they're clueless. I think they're coming from a place, and I don't doubt for a second. I know she said, I'm not hearing anything. I don't believe that conversation came out of nowhere. I don't. And it would make perfect sense to say, Trey Lance, man, we have worked with you. We like what you do. You're going to own the preseason. You'll play every freaking snap, man. We got to find out because we think we might have, you wouldn't tell him this, we may think you're a less expensive option. But you can then turn around to Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, and everybody else and say, hey, guess what, everyone? We've got some money now. It's an idea. Something else is up. I told you this window stuff has got to happen pretty soon, and I don't think these conversations are crazy. Mike Tannenbaum of ESPN, something's up, everybody. Something is up. Either this whole thing is done and settled, and Dak Prescott says, I'm here forever, I'm the company man, and Dallas is going to suck in 2 years, or they're working. And they're working and they're strategizing. Mike Tannenbaum is a former general manager in the NFL. He's an analyst for ESPN, and he brought up something that makes perfect sense.
How much of a mistake is it to go into this season this way? And do you feel the exact same way about Coach Belichick and Vrabel?
It's a huge mistake to have these 3 unknowns. They're the 3 most important or best players on the team, yes, if you include DeMarcus Lawrence and Zach Martin in that conversation as well. So it's a huge mistake to be sitting here with all these question marks. I don't think the Vrabel-Belichick cloud is that big a deal. In my opinion, I thought that maybe 6 months ago, but since nothing matriculated, I could be wrong in that. Here's the most interesting thing about this for me, RC and Jeff. If Dak Prescott goes and has a 2024 season like he did 2023, he's going to get $1 gajillion from the Dallas Cowboys, right? We all believe that. It was an MVP type of season. If it ends the same way, my goodness, that is going to be a fascinating situation. But if he has that season, do you really fire Mike McCarthy?
But that's the point, though, Dan. You're in a position where you have to make those decisions based on what happens this year, because we know before this year, Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys as a team haven't done enough. How much of a
Somewhere in here, Tannenbaum has him go to the Raiders. Mike Tannenbaum jumped in and said, if he hits the market, the Raiders didn't draft anybody. Something's up. He said, hey, if he gets to free agency, doesn't re-sign with Dallas, whatever, he gets to free agency, the Raiders are going all in, and the checkbook is open. Kind of makes sense. The chatter starts to make sense. The chatter's starting to add up. It is. I mean, you can say, oh, this is just the off-season. People have stuff to do. You're about to start training camp. And this is the biggest deal hanging out there. Forget Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is, in my opinion, I don't know what they're debating there. Mike McCarthy is irrelevant in this discussion. Mike McCarthy is trying to hang on to the fact that Dak Prescott goes as I go. I'm the one who made him, that kind of stuff. Well, I'd be careful with that one because I'm not quite sure this guy's coming back. You're going to know soon. But that Raiders line is not far out either. What are they doing sitting around? It would make perfect sense. Open the checkbook. Jerry can't do it. Jerry probably shouldn't do it. The Raiders could. The Raiders suck, but it might be attractive for Dak Prescott. Don't write off the chatter. Don't write off the speculation. Don't write off the conversation. Something is up.